Okay, I wanted to read you the chapter on churches that Maria Simma wrote in her book, Get Us Out of Here. And what's in front of you is a picture of the Latin Mass. And this is the way a church should look. You have an altar rail, and you have a tabernacle in the middle of the church. Jesus is the center of the church. And of course, it's beautifully decorated. Okay, and a lot of modern churches are horrendous. And this has been done deliberately. The architecture is horrific. It is asymmetrical. It is incongruous. It's a subtle form of, in my opinion, shall we say, the diabolical. Okay, to be blunt, because it just throws off order, symmetry, which is of God. The demons are chaotic. Okay, so in a Latin church like this, everything's orderly. And of course, in some of the older churches, things are orderly. And a lot of the priests know this. They have to put the tabernacle back. We have to get away from this, Vatican II, I don't know what you want to call it, but abuses that have really damaged things. And people want it. They want things back the way they were. And it's going to happen. It's just a matter of time. Now, what does Maria say here? This is someone asking her a question, right? She's being interviewed. When the poor souls have warned you about the present condition of the church, have they also said anything about the church buildings today? Yes, that too. Many things that we would associate with modern churches bother them very much. Churches are only for praying and for meeting with Jesus and Mary. The poor souls say they want there to be no sophisticated equipment, no plush carpeting, and nothing to make things as comfortable as a wealthy living room. The churches are there for you and Jesus to be alone together. Decorations that serve no other function but to decorate have to go, because they distract. And the poor souls have also mentioned that much of the so-called modern art horrifies them. Much of it is gruesomely ugly, not to mention historically incorrect. And Mary should again be given a prominent place. Now I want to just add my 2 cents in here. That is very true. See, in the Latin church, notice the artwork, right? It looks like Jesus, Mary. It looks like the saints, Martin de Porres on the right, St. Jude on the left. It looks like what it's supposed to be. You go to a modern church, and it doesn't even look like a crucifix. It's horrific. Some of the statues are all distorted, and you see a lot of this in the 70s art. It's terrible. Also, some of these abuses, clown shows on the altar, dancing. This is not the purpose of a church, okay? That's to bring like the Protestant element in. I mean, Protestant churches are like that. Big screen TVs, plush carpeting. It's not a church. It's a meeting hall. Okay? A church is a church. It's where a supernatural event called the Mass takes place. It is not a meeting hall to have, spaghetti dinners. That is not its purpose. The sanctuary is a sanctuary. More important than anything else, however, is that all tabernacles must be, by all means, must be in the center. Exactly. In the center of the church and not off to the side or even in another room. Only in the center. If Jesus is no longer the center of things, then he too will soon be carried out. Then all we are left with is a second town hall. Exactly. Believe me, every time that someone looks at the tabernacle with love, Jesus then elevates his place in heaven. Listen, I love the Eucharist. I hope you do. That is my only purpose for going to church, to get that Eucharist, to see Christ. That is the purpose. The only purpose. Then the priests should also return to using the pulpits. Bringing the priests down to the level of the parishioners was yet another of the Satan's tricks. Up in the pulpit, they would gain far more respect, and that is true. You see these modern churches and the priests come down, they got their little microphone, and it's like almost like a workshop. or really a Protestant church. That's what the Protestants do. In the older churches, you'll see this elevated pulpit. And that's what we need back. Again, my church doesn't necessarily have an elevated pulpit, but he is on a pulpit when he's talking, the priest. Okay. No social functions should be arranged in churches. Only holy functions. Bring back the saints too. At least Saint Joseph, Saint Michael, the Archangel, and the saint after whom the church was named. My church is named after Saint Anthony, and he is a huge statue of him right in the middle. And I've mentioned the communion railing already, right? Meaning the communion rail has to come back. Like when I receive communion, we have to kneel. My hands have to go under a cloth because I cannot touch the Eucharist, and I only receive communion in the mouth, on the tongue. Communion of the hands is a whole other thing, and the Holy Souls condemn it, actually. And we'll talk about that in another chapter. I only receive communion on the tongue because I am not worthy to hold the Eucharist. I am not a priest. Okay? My hands are not consecrated, but that's a whole other story. I know it's allowed. But a lot of things are allowed. It doesn't make it right, in my opinion. Okay. All these things that are missing and all the comforts that have been added in the last decades separate us from our Jesus and thus make Satan very happy. I know of coffee being served, animals on people's laps, and televisions being set up in churches. I've seen churches without holy water at the doors and without kneelers. None of this is good, and none of it is within Jesus' wishes. I was at a Catholic church one time in Virginia, and there were no kneelers, so I knelt on the floor. It was ridiculous. I think it had been a Protestant church, and they converted it into a Catholic church, and they either didn't put the kneelers in yet, or, they just felt the people there were new Catholics, and we didn't want to push them too much. I don't know. And I think I saw one or two statues of saints. That was it. You go to the churches in Europe, and they're magnificent. There are statues everywhere, paintings everywhere, decorations, and they all have a purpose. It's not just to decorate. They're all telling you about the gospel stories, about Jesus' life. They're all, there's prayers everywhere, written all over the place. That's the purpose of it, the decoration. Okay. So they're simply not happy with modern churches. Is that it? No, I have seen several modern churches where everything was all right. One, for instance, in Leeds, Tyrol, is very modern, but also very prayerful and done correctly. So ugly, non-prayerful, and incomplete does not need to equate with modern. But modern is, in most of the cases, ugly, non-prayerful, and incomplete. And that's all by design. Okay? That is by design. It's deliberate. Meaning the demonic forces. What about holy functions that the modern churches might have forgotten? Yes, that too. The poor souls miss processions that are the same as small pilgrimages. Processions for Our Lady or processions for the saints that were such an integral part of spiritual life before. We give parades to sports teams, politicians. Then why do we no longer hold processions for Jesus, his mother, and their saints? Exactly. We spend all this time adulating over these Hollywood types. It's pathetic. This is why America's in trouble. You've thrown God in the toilet. We focus on these ridiculous things. What's more important than your eternal life? I can't think of anything else. Everything's staying here, but your soul. You can't stop it. You can't stop the process of death. Okay? So you should be concerned. And Americans are worried about, the big rallies and this and that, and oh my gosh. You can go to those, but we should have rallies for saints and our faith. And Catholics do have that. I mean, we have St. Patrick's Day Parade, and, in little communities, like in Europe, they have the saint, they process the saint down the street. In South America, they do that, Central America. We need to do that here more, I think. Things of this nature bring Jesus and his saints out into the world, as it should be, and not the other way around, by bringing the world into Jesus' houses, as happens so often today. Then also, in many parts of the world, the priests no longer go out to bless every home at least once a year. This too weakens the faith and weakens the love and respect that must stay intact between the priests and the laity. It also makes the houses much easier to enter for Satan and his demons. I've never heard of priests in America here going to the house to bless the house every year. Now, a new house is often blessed. I've seen that, but never every year. But if a priest can't come, then, make sure you get your holy water and bless your house every day and put St. Benedict medals all over. They have to be blessed. Crucifixes, to protect the house and protect your family. The loss of such holy functions makes Satan perfectly happy. Yes, and also First Saturday devotions have been forgotten in so many parts of the world. They too must be brought back. For matters of this nature, we were given priests to begin with. We need them, and they need us to remind them again of their responsibilities. Can you tell me how Mass is celebrated in your own church here in Sontag, and whether the souls are happy with how things are done here? Yes, they are satisfied with the way we have kept it here. The communion railings was never removed, and Holy Communion is given only on the tongue. That's the way it's supposed to be. There are never any women around the altar, and that includes during the readings and having only altar boys serve. Jesus in the tabernacle is in the center of Our Lady, and some saints are prominent in several paintings and statuary. Confessions can be heard every week, and the people take advantage of this regularly. Adoration of the Blessed Sacrament and the Rosary are attended regularly also. All our children are in front during the entirety of the Mass, where I keep them until the adults have left the church. This is only to keep order and silence and to avoid having them run and dodge between the legs of the adults. And that's the end of her chapter on churches. One thing I want to say that people don't understand is in regards to like why women are not allowed on the altar. They're not supposed to be. And now we see altar girls and all this. Okay, let me explain something. Okay, in life, right, there's male and female. The man is the seed. The female is the soil. The man plants the seed in the soil, and a child is born, right, from that union. Well, the priest, the male priest, represents the seed on the altar. You, in the audience, the congregation, you are the female. Okay, when you're there, you're the female. And through the Mass, the giving of the Eucharist, seed is being planted within you. All right? And that seed is supposed to bring forth a baby. What's the baby? Virtue, good actions, holiness, devotion. See? That's why men are priests and women are not. And that's the order of the universe. If people have problems with it, talk to the big guy. Why he made male and female. It's like some people just don't like the fact that God did what he did. They don't accept nature. There's a purpose for everything in the Catholic faith, the traditional Catholic faith. Things aren't just done for no reason. So you get that? The priest is the male, the congregation is the female. The Mass plants the seed through the Eucharist within you, and you give birth to virtue through receiving Christ. That's its purpose. She didn't explain that, Maria Simma, but that is the reason. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that. Have a great day.